All right, and it's recording. Okay, here is our orchid. This is the one we repotted a month ago. You see she's still doing beautiful, even though she's got her scar from falling on her head. So now we're going to take her out and see how her roots are doing. Cut off all the rotten roots that are in there, because once you repot it, there's always a couple of rotten roots. And then we will put her back in the pot, and she'll be good to go for quite a while. So I've already rubbed down the pot or the pan here and the scissors. Now we gotta rub down everything else. Make sure it stays sterile. So here's my little pad. Here's the rubbing alcohol. And it just lost its sticker because it's that old. So let's get to work, shall we? So here's this. This is the decorative pot that it's in. So just to make sure that it stays sterile, give it a quick whirly loop there. Sterilize that. Alright. Make sure there's no fuzzies in it. Ta-da! Nice and clean. There is a fuzzy in it. Alright. There we go. And if this soil is not good, when we take her out and assess her, then I have a plastic bag over here that we'll put the soil in and give her new soil. And the soil that we're using is recommended by a lady that I watch on YouTube, the Miss Orchid lady, and she recommends repotme.com. So that's what we're using. So before we get started on the actual orchid itself, let's lay her down there. And we're going to do a quick wipey of the inside of her pot, just to make sure that it's still all sterile. I do have another orchid on the shelf. That looks icky. So we'll get another one here. I have another orchid on the shelf that had mealybugs and possibly thrips. So we want to make sure everything is completely sterile. It's recommended you use rubbing alcohol. So that's what we're doing. I'm using the rubbing alcohol to sterilize everything. And then when I get ready to treat her leaves for mealybugs and thrips, and possibly even her roots, that we will be using a 3% hydrogen peroxide. Because rubbing alcohol can sometimes be too strong on their roots. And it's recommended you use gloves. I don't ever use gloves. I've already washed my hands, so we're just going to do this. So here's the clip. We'll put that in there. Here's her spike. We're going to go ahead and take that out. And while we're at it, and we got this little guy here, we're just going to rub it down again. Make sure there's no ick on that. And we'll go ahead and do the clip too, just to be on the safe side. Make sure there's nothing stuck in it or on it. You want to keep everything as sterile as you can, because it only takes a blink of an eye or the blow of a wind for things to go bad. Alright, so now we're just going to kind of loosen this up. Now, this is still a little damp because I just watered her 2 days ago to prolong this, because we got a cold snap. And I didn't want to try and repot her in the cold snap. And this time we're going to use the, we're actually going to put the bark on the top of her pot. And that will stop some of the sphagnum moss from turning that funny green. And it's supposed to keep more of the critters off. So Let's get all the sphagnum moss here off. This is the easy part. And you can see there are some dead roots here. And that's what they say. They say that there will be some dead roots when you repot it. So we're just going to assess this. This looks good. All the bark looks good. So I think we're going to just go ahead and reuse this. That's a bad root. So make sure that there's no roots in here because I don't want to contaminate anything. But the lady did say you can reuse this same soil to repot since it's so new. So here we go. We're gonna assess the roots. Anything that is not green like this or green like this, this is healthy green, so we're gonna keep this. But if it's icky looking like this here, brown hollowed out, we need to get rid of all that brown hollowed out stuff, and that's why we have the sterile scissors. So we're gonna clip this here, let that drop. This here is its root, as you can see. So let's just, hopefully you can see this on the camera well. Okay, we have some dead roots down here. This here is mushy. Anything that's mushy is dead. So you want to assess how far up it goes, which this one wants to give me a little bit of a fun ride. You see, this is green, but all the way up is not good. And like this one here is stringy and moist and mushy. That's a rotten, dead root. So let's go ahead and, I hope you can somewhat see this. We're gonna remove that dead root. We're gonna, these top ones look good. And Ben's gonna entertain us with some songs.
I've had that song stuck in my head for a week.
So
wake up with it in my head, go to sleep with it in my head, it's in my head during the day.
oh, Ben's got all kinds of songs, guys. He's got music in his brain.
One.
Ben, we're on a video. You can't say bad words. You have to censor your language. This is going on my YouTube channel. That means you have to be appropriate. No, I don't want to hear that crap. So we're actually going to end up taking quite a few of these off, guys, because these are not alive. And I'm just going to hope that she bounces back after we clean her up here. This one does have a sign of life here, so I think we'll leave that one. This one is alive. This one is alive. Yep. Oh, nope, that's got mushy. Let's follow it all the way up. Here, I hope you can see. See what I'm doing? Okay, this one here is a mushy one. So what I'm doing is I'm following it all the way up to where it's connected and no longer mushy. And I'm going to clip it off right past the mushy part into the yellow part, which is where the root is still healthy. So I'm going to cut that one. You can see how it's all mushy. I cut it at the healthy part. That should bounce back. So this one here, this core looks pretty unpredictable, but we still got a lot of life in the orchid. So since she's not thinning out and getting all even here, you see how thick she is and healthy. She's not thin or wrinkly, so she's not dehydrated and she's really doing well. So we just got to clean up her roots. This one here, this is actually the sheath of the root. I'm going to see if I can get close up. You can see here where the little string is. That's the actual root right there, that little string. So this is a sheath that protects the root. So you want to clean that up so that none of that is icky. Exposed roots are not good, so we're just going to clean that up. Try and keep all of the root out of the potting soil. This one is going bad. Yeah, that one's not going to make it. So we're going to just cut that out of there. Let's see. I think what we're actually going to do, guys, is I believe we're going to use new soil anyway. Because this looks a little too iffy to let go. So, and just to make sure that there are no little creepy crawly critters when I put her back in her pot, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put new soil in here. Now this one you can see is doing well, but she's disconnected up here. And do I have life on it though? It looks good. That's mushy. That's strong. Okay, so when I mushed that, that seeped. So we're going to cut it up here and see how that does. This here is mushy too. Ay, ay, ay. You got some exposure here. It's strong. This here is mushy. We're going to clip it up there. This one looks okay. That one looks okay. This one is dried out. So we're just going to take this one off here. Because that's still good root. And this is thriving root here. Once I'm done clipping these roots, what I'm going to do is I'm going to rub them down with a little bit of peroxide just to make sure that there is nothing else going on with her. I'm going to rub her leaves down with a bit of peroxide too. Okay. That's firm. That's firm. That's where we cut before, so that's healing up. We're going to leave that. This one here is real iffy. I think we're going to take that one off too, just to be on the safe side. Let's take that off. See how that is. Pull the rest of this icky stuff off here. Try and clean up the root ball as much as possible without destroying the root ball itself. Okay. That looks good. This is hard, so I'm not going to think, we better cap that off too. Let's just go ahead and take that off. Just to be on the safe side, because we don't want any creepy crawlies on her. And as you can see, here's a nice healthy root. It's silver because it's dry, and then it's got this greenish yellow point on it. That's what you want to look for. You want to look for them healthier roots. This one I clipped earlier, but it's still doing really well. This one, see how she's got a new root there? She's nice and healthy and color green. That's what you want. You want to keep them healthy like that. Now, I did clip a couple of them when I repotted her the first time like this. So that's going to hollow out, and then it will eventually just kind of rot away. So you still got to keep track of her. Make sure that she doesn't have any smelly soil. If she smells, you have root rot, and you need to immediately repot her. And this here is her flower stem, and this is her secondary one. So we're going to keep them, and as you can see, here's a new root growing down here. Here's another new root, these little nubs. Hopefully you can see those little nubs. Those are new roots. That's all good signs. That's healthy. Here you can see some more over here. Nice and healthy, although there is a piece of shaft here. We're going to pull that shaft out. We don't need any of that. You don't want it to rot at all. Double checking it. That looks good. This one is still strong. See, it is discolored because it must have got nicked, but it's strong. It's not mushy. So we're going to leave her be because it's still strong and there's lots of good health there. You can see that's still doing well. So now with even her arms or her leaves here, I'm going to go ahead and rub her leaves down with peroxide because there is a little bit of white here. I've always had that. I'm not sure why. But mealybugs, if you don't know what a mealybug is a fuzzy looking pill bug. And they're very, very small until they're full size, and then you can tell they look like a pill bug, but they're white and fuzzy. So, and I'm gonna go ahead and choose to not reuse this. I can reuse this for something else after I treat it. So let's go ahead and stick this into that bag, and then we'll treat our orchid and repot her. So here's us a plastic bag. I'm just going to use this for now because I'm going to treat this so I can reuse it for something else. Because this soil is still good, still has nutrients in it. I just don't want to spread any disease or anything. I really want her to live. She's the only one that hasn't shown any negative signs. So we're going to hope that that stays good and she grows big and strong. So now we got the peroxide here. We're going to take one of these and a couple of Q-tips here. Alright, now we're going to treat her roots. I should have left that right here so I could stick those on top of it and they don't touch anything. Just dampen the thing here, and then we're just gonna jabby, roll it around a little, kind of rub her roots. Because peroxide will kill any thrips or mealybugs or anything else that might be lingering on her or in her roots. So we start here and just work our way around so we can keep track of where we treated and where we haven't treated. Okay, that one looks icky. Oh. Make sure we get this one in between her roots. Go this way around all the side ones. All right, get this guy. Okay, then we got to get this one here. Yeah, we're just gonna rub them down as best as we can with a little bit of this rubbing alcohol. Or no, this is peroxide, excuse me. Peroxide. Just to guarantee that anything that I can't see with my bare eye is not lingering and going to attack her roots. Get in between there a little bit. Make sure we get all of that. And this root right here actually sticks up out of the soil. It seems to be one of them that likes to stick out, so I just make sure that there we go. I think we'll do the stems too. Maybe if I can hold this here. Knock it off! Oh, I gotta love animals. Dogs after the cats. Yay, yes. Okay. We're gonna wipe down these flower stems too. Remember, the important thing is do not ever get anything in the crown. Go around it, but not in it. And that's where you're gonna have the most complicated part. Oops, that didn't get any goop on it. There we go. That's the complicated part, is that my other orchid actually had a mealybug in its crown. And at the end of this video, I will pull him out real quick and show you the sadness of what has happened to my other orchid due to the fact of mealybugs. So, alright, now we're gonna rub the bottoms of her leaves. Address one side at a time. See there? Gentle with the one that fell on its head. Okay, and here in just a second I'll show you what I mean by signs of dehydration or illness. Okay, see where she fell on her head? See how she's starting to get wrinkly here? Some of that's dehydration, but that's because all of this has been cut off, so there's no nutrients going there. When your orchid starts to get like this, there's an issue. You need to address it immediately. So now, with this slightly damp, but not saturated, we wipe the inside of it. Careful, careful. There is a white spot there. Oh, that's a scar. Okay. So, there we go. Now she's all cleaned up. And see this white spot there? I think that was just from where she might have split. But now we got her all wiped up. And now we will repot her and see how she does. Love you too. Drive safe and be careful. And see how she does. So we're going to repot her. First we're going to empty this. I guess just into the sink, so we have to empty that sink anyways. And there's a little bit of either rubbing alcohol or peroxide on this tin, and I do not want to lay her in that because that will destroy her. So, alright, now that we got her nice and cleaned up, you can see there's no more dead roots. We still have her flower stems. We're going to keep those because that's where I'm going to stick the peg to keep her standing straight up and still, keep her healthy and keep her balanced, because they do get a little bit on the top heavy side. Key note to remember, orchids do not grow straight up. They grow sideways. So when she's in a pot and she's leaning sideways, that's actually the way that they grow, is sideways off of the side of a tree. Not sideways, but this way, sideways at an angle. So when you pot it, even if you pot it standing straight up, sooner or later she will start to angle a bit because that's the way that they naturally grow. There's nothing you can do about it. You really don't want to try and correct it too much because that could make harm for your orchid. So now that we've rubbed her down with peroxide to kill any parasites or whatever might be on there, mealybugs, spider mites, thrips. Thrips is one that seems to be quite common. That was my clip. So thrips and mealybugs are the most common with orchids. Alright, So now the trick to this is the sphagnum moss stays moist. She needs lots of air. They do not like to be moist. They have to have very well drained soil. Hence why you have the, the bark, the pumice, aka lava rock, and the perlite, which is the white stuff. So, and the key, I'm running out of room. The key is this stuff. As long as it stays touching itself, or, you know, strand to strand, it will continue to make that water circulate throughout the entire pot. So we put a little bit of peat moss. Sorry about the camera interruptions. I got you propped up because I don't have a camera guy. We're going to put some of this bark and pumice and everything in there. We're going to pull this piece of sphagnum moss. I'm hoping you can see this. Here you go. So we got it like that, and we're just going to make sure that the sphagnum continues to touch each other. Okay? And you don't want to tuck her in too much because, like I said, she needs lots of air. So we just tuck it down. You can see how we're tucking it down just a hair because she doesn't have as many roots now. So we got to make sure we keep her good and going here. And I like to just leave one of these sphagnum moss kind of touching one another and then dangling off the side to guarantee that they're constantly touching each other, so we don't have to worry about her getting dry in the middle or on one side or the other. And we just put layer after layer. And we're going to put some more sphagnum in here. And this is all dry. I like to work with it dry. I really don't care for it wet. So now that we got that much in, let's get her into her fresh potted soil. This guy is always stuck up out of the pot, so we're just going to kind of, I hope you guys can see this. Just tuck her in a bit. And I am going to leave her at an angle. See how she's at a slight angle. And then when I put the, maybe if I can get this undone. Okay. Alright, so now we're going to watch it. I'm going to take this in between the roots. Sorry about that. Take this peg in between the roots. Kind of weasel it down because I know there's no roots there yet. So I want to put this in now so I know I'm not destroying any roots. Because then I'm going to clip her to this for balance. And that'll help keep her stable. But before we do that, let's get the rest of her tucked in here. So we're going to put some of this bark. I'm going to kind of push the bark down here by where that black spot was. That was actually the core of her root ball. We want to keep that moist too, but we really don't want it to rot. And with it being as dark as it was, that's what we're doing now, is we're just going to tuck some of this filler in to give it a little bit of air so it doesn't rot. But it still keeps the moisture. The bark and everything will keep quite a bit of moisture. It's quite amazing. Alrighty. Tuck you in there. As you can see, this is very loose. I'm really not going to tuck her in hard core like you would some of the other plants. And you always, for me, I choose to repot her dry like this, and then I will soak her in some sterilized water so that she does have the moisture, but I really don't want any moisture pockets in there. I want her to have plenty of air and oxygen to move and breathe, because orchids are very sensitive. And I might be blowing that out of proportion, but you know, I'm learning. This is my first run at it too. Second time repotting her. Now that we've got the roots a little bit more better. So we're going to tuck this spagma. We still got this here. So this, now that I've got some of the, I hope you can see that, the bark down in the center for her core. Now I'm going to kind of tuck some more spagma around her, and then we're going to top it off with bark. So now we're just going to kind of use my fingers and gently, there you can see, we're tucking in some of the spagma, make sure it touches itself. And she's getting plenty of the spagma in there to keep her moist, hold water in there so she doesn't dry out, because you really don't want her 100% crunchy dry either. So in a minute I'll show you how you can see here where I'm just tucking it in a little bit of tappy tappy. You're not going to push hard. You don't want to push hard. You don't want to bend any of the roots. You don't want to compromise the plant or its roots. And here's the little piece of spagma I told you I'd make sure it touches. So we stretch some more spagma out. Just gonna do a little wrappy. That'll be enough. And because Ben is pulling out of the driveway, the girls are gonna go crazy. They do not like to hear cars. Okay, that one didn't touch too well, so let's just reinsure that there's plenty there. That'll be enough, guys. All right, there we go. Tuck it down. Yeah, there we go. All right. I'm just gonna put a couple more strands of this spagma. You can see here, it's a little easier because her ear is floppy, or her leaf is floppy. It's not good that her leaf is floppy, but it kind of sort of does help to be able to see what I'm working with. Like I said, just make sure that it continues to touch itself somehow. And then what we're going to do is we are going to top the top of this off with this other stuff, which is the bark, the pumice, aka lava, and the perlite. And you just want to do that so that, one, it stays moist, but two, you don't have all that spagma moss being exposed to the sun, because as it stays moist, you really don't want it to start discoloring. And with it being exposed to the sun, then it will start to discolor a bit. And you've seen that some of it was a little green. That wasn't a bad sign. That was a good sign. But you really don't want it to get too green to where then, I just want to make sure that all of this is covered with bark. So I'm tucking in the pumice and the perlite, and then let's see how that goes. We're going to put some more bark over here. I might even pull some bark out of another place that I got some bark stuck later and top it all off with more bark, because I don't see that we have too much bark in here. And we want it to be, we want the top to be covered with bark, and just try to cover it so that the spagma moss is not exposed as much. And these here, don't worry about the roots. If they start poking out, it's an orchid, guys. Orchids are supposed to have roots exposed on the top. It's part of how they grow. It's part of how they thrive. And it's actually good for them. It gives them better air, better circulation. And it shows you that they're good and healthy, and they're thriving. So this is the one that's always stuck out ever since I got her. So now you can see how I just kind of got her tucked in there nicely, not too tight. See, there's still lots of air in there, and yet it's all still, the sphagnum moss is all touching. There's sphagnum on the bottom. Oops, we lost a piece of pumice. But, you know, the sphagnum moss is touching everywhere. This one here could do a little more tucking, so we'll just kind of push this piece. That's a big piece, so we got to kind of tuck that. There we go. Like so. Might be able to stick that one in there. Nope, that one goes over here in this spot. It's kind of sort of like fitting together a puzzle, but you want the puzzle to be a loose puzzle. You want it to be able to completely breathe. You don't want too much air. Too much air, I've heard, is a bad thing too. So, like I said, we're just trying to make sure that as much of the top sphagnum is not exposed. This here good healthy root. Okay, so, and she's still at quite an angle. Beautiful. You can see not a lot of sphagnum on the top. That's going to protect her quite drastically. There's a piece of sphagnum there. Let's tuck that in and find a little piece of bark and just cover that up. Bark and perlite. There we go. So now she is nice and covered. I hope you can see this and I didn't go too far off of the video. Yeah, there we go. All right, not too bad. Here we can zoom up. You can see there is still room, but you want her to breathe. You don't want her so clustered in there she can't breathe and stretch her legs and grow. Okay, you want it to keep growing. So as you can see, we're just going to spin her around. See, she's really nice and tucked in there kindly. She's doing really good. So now what I'm going to do is I got to get a clean cup. I'm going to put her in a cup, and I'm going to put purified water in the cup so that this will all absorb. I'll soak it in the cup for about 5 minutes. Then I'll take it out of the cup and let her drain. That way she's already watered and she's good to go. We can see all of her roots, all of her exposure. We can keep track of how she's growing, where she's growing, if there's any other complications or problems. We want to really watch out to make sure that she doesn't have mealybugs or thrips or anything else for that, because orchids are very sensitive and you really got to watch it, because those little creepy crawly critters will kill your orchid. They'll desiccate it like nobody's business, and that's what we want to keep away from. According to what I seen when I pulled her out, she looked extremely healthy, extremely happy, and like I said, the only reason we cut those roots is because we did repot her, and it is known that you have to check her roots 1 month after you do a repot to make sure that you're getting rid of anything that is rotten or going dead. So that way she can live and thrive well. So this is exactly what I do. Here's the little clip. I'm just gonna gently clip the clip to the peg. That's gonna keep her sturdy. I'll water her, and there she is. And I will keep you up to date on how things go and if things change. And we'll go from there. So that one I'll have to get her watered before too long. And now what we're going to do is I'm going to pause you and take you over to see what the other orchid looks like. Alright, so here is the orchid that I was telling you about that had mealybugs. It destroyed its root system. I'm really afraid to move it because every time I do, it looks like it's going to fall apart. You can see how it's droopy, how it's not a healthy leaf. It's all curly. It's really bad. I'm hoping she makes it, but I'm not going to hold my breath. Here's the other one. This one has not been repotted yet. You can see, and I don't really want to move her because I don't want to spread whatever she might have. It's either mealybugs or thrips. I'm not a pro yet, so you can see that I did rub down some of these roots just on the top with some peroxide. It seemed to get rid of the fuzziness, but this leaf has turned completely yellow. You can see how it's shriveling up. This one's got some shrivel to it too. She split as soon as I got her home. Before I even got her into this pot, she split. So let's see if I can possibly turn her around and show you. Ugh. I don't know if you can see some of the white spots. Yeah, there you go. There's a white spot down there. There's a couple over here. There's a couple here. Now, and that's the thing. You really don't know if those are thrips, mealybugs, dust, what it is. So, and when I got this one and that one over there, that's when I started having issues and learned about bugs because they're killing my plants. So we're just going to keep a close eye on them. This one I have to repot next. I'm not sure if she'll make it or not either. So I will keep you up to date on that. I might even repot her tomorrow and just do another video on that so you can see it. So there is my orchid repot a month after I potted my original, and a couple days later I repotted those two and realized they had issues. So I'm just kind of trial and error. If you have any questions, any tips, any tricks, any concerns, anything like that, leave them below, and I'll get to them as soon as I can. I'm always open for tricks, suggestions, something else that could help them survive and make them grow big and strong and happy. And with that, like always, remember to hit the like button, share with your friends, subscribe if you want to see more. Thank you for watching. Many blessings to you all. Much appreciation to you for taking the time to watch my video. And we'll see you on the next one. Ciao now.